Hello and welcome back to the channel. Since 2006, British Columbia has maintained a steady presence of transit buses powered by compressed natural gas or CNG. There was no video last week, so let's make that up by doing an overview of CNG buses in Metro Vancouver. Details are a bit lacking for the exact beginnings of buses powered by compressed natural gas here in Metro Vancouver. Some sources point to the mid-1990s as a start, but there is some evidence that some experiments were done as far back as the early 1980s. Anyways, the history of CNG buses here in Vancouver goes a little something like this. In 1989, TransLink, known at the time as part of BC Transit, started to explore alternative fuels for transit buses. To run this experiment, 3 buses out of Port Coquitlam were retrofitted to run on CNG. The program received a grant of $400,000 from the federal government, on top of $1 million contributed by the local and provincial governments, BC Gas, which is a company that would become today's FortisBC, and another Richmond-based company. The experiment was a success and eventually led BC Transit to conduct an intensive study in 1994 about whether or not to continue pursuing CNG power. At the successful conclusion of that study, BC Transit placed an order for 50 CNG-powered buses in 2 batches between 1995 and 1998. The fueling station at Port Coquitlam Transit Centre also received an upgrade. Meanwhile, BC Gas financed a portion of the project through a financing agreement regarding fueling. Altogether, the performance study for these buses lasted until 2000, at which point the first 25 units underwent transition to diesel power until their retirement in 2011. The 25 units purchased in 1998 thus continued to run on CNG power, and of these units, 6 would gain new engines and would go on to be used in the campaign known as Testing the Power of Tomorrow by 2005. And that brings us to the mid-2000s, specifically 2005, which was a very colorful time for CNG buses. To sum it all up, there was a lot of back and forth between the pro-CNG such as the gas companies, former Mayor Larry Campbell, and the anti-CNG, including incumbent Mayor Sam Sullivan and TransLink. One could say that this was probably due to reliability issues, especially for the low-floor units. But to put it simply, TransLink did not select the most practical drivetrain combo for the buses purchased in 1998. So the environmental benefits worked in theory, but were not executed correctly. TransLink also argued that particulate filters for diesel buses were a good enough compromise, and that the economics of providing bus service already contributes to removing cars off the road. In any case, the debate resulted in TransLink reducing its order for 95 CNG buses to just 50. However, since the manufacturer, New Flyer, could not react in time, the other 45 units were converted to diesel. In addition, proposed upgrades to the fueling station in Port Coquitlam were cancelled. In total, the order for 95 CNG buses in 2006 ended up becoming 50 CNG buses and 57 diesel buses. By the end of 2009, the buses that were not part of the testing program mentioned earlier also had their CNG equipment removed and changed to diesel, and CNG buses would not be ordered again until 2014. The buses that were part of the testing program were disposed of by the end of 2012. The investments and expansion to the fueling station at Port Coquitlam were eventually made, as by the end of 2015, 45 new CNG buses featuring the latest ISLG engine were added to the fleet. 2016 saw an expansion of 51 CNG buses to accompany a new bus yard located at the outskirts of Queensborough, Newsminster. 2018 saw the drafting of the low-carbon fleet strategy. To put it simply, the goal is that by 2050, the entire fleet would be operating with renewable energy. While CNG is not renewable, it is a good start in reducing diesel consumption. More on this later. In any case, 106 CNG units were ordered that year, and a new CNG fueling system was installed at Surrey Transit Centre. 2019 saw another 47 units ordered. Originally headed for Hamilton, a bulk of these were eventually sent to Surrey to help retire older diesel buses dating back to as far as 1996. And that's where we are today. 299 CNG buses account for around 20% of the standard bus fleet, with units running out of Surrey, Hamilton, and Port Coquitlam. The ISLG engine, its successor the L9N, and the predecessor C-Gas Plus make tremendous amounts of progress in CNG technology. Detroit Diesel, maker of the Series 50G engine found in the first 50 buses, slowly made its way out of the transit bus market by the mid-2000s. Now, we're not going to spend too much time talking about the benefits over regular diesel buses, but just know that one claim about the C-Gas Plus engine is that one bus can reduce nitrogen oxide emissions by 500,000 pounds over 16 or 18 years. Many good videos and journal articles are available, and I'll link a few in the description. What I want to focus on is explaining why we have an abundance of CNG buses here in BC. TransLink has the largest fleet of CNG buses in Canada. As mentioned earlier, there are 299 buses in the fleet, with a sixth of these dating back to 2006. Its sister system, BC Transit, operates transit in different parts of the province. At the time of posting, there are 267 buses that run in places like Victoria, Kamloops, Nanaimo, Whistler, and Abbotsford. Considering how BC leads Canada in having an abundance of natural gas reserves, this should come as no surprise. Sources state different numbers, but one report suggests that there is almost 2 quadrillion cubic feet in reserves, mostly located in the province's northeast. In addition, BC accounts for 32% of the country's natural gas production and exports 23% of that to the US. So it's safe to say that there is plenty of natural gas available in the long run. CNG will remain a part of the TransLink fleet at least until the mid to late 2030s. While CNG does offer significant benefits over diesel, TransLink ultimately looks forward to shifting to renewable natural gas and battery-powered buses in the future. An agreement was signed by TransLink and FortisBC in 2019, making TransLink the first agency to operate with buses using renewable natural gas. Beyond that, there are plans to replace and expand the fleet through 134 new buses through 2024. The point I wanted to stress here is that proper research and development at the mechanical level was significant in determining whether or not CNG buses had a future in British Columbia. 2005 was kind of the major turning point as we started to see the diversification of transit bus fuel types. Considering that transit buses have been in major cities since the 1920s and 1930s, it's relatively recent where we have started experimenting with different techniques. I hope you liked this week's video. Does your city have buses running on CNG? Leave it in the comments. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one.